How y'all doing? This video here in particular is on how to overcome anything that you encounter in life. Now, me personally, I'm different than you. I'm not you. Notice how at the beginning of this video, I took out a second to take a breather, to just breathe in deeply before I decided to just go in to my curriculum and just deliver my message. I took a quick second to breathe. In my experience here on earth, I've learned that breathing is very important, especially when it comes to health, especially when it boils down to manifestation. If we're not getting in the right amount of oxygen so that our brains can work at full capacity, we are then going to be struggling to try to bring forth the things we want from out the void. The void I speak of, which is nothingness, that place of that space within your mind where creation begins, where it's very difficult for you to try to fathom overstanding as far as how to go about doing something that hasn't been done or something you've yet to have experienced. See, a lot of us have been subjected to words like fear, hate, disagreeable terms that we have placed within our growth patterns to stop us from being able to see what has to be done in order for us to affect change in our lives that works in a progressional state that allows us to grow and become who we were destined and programmed to be. You could run from yourself as much as you like, but you will find out that there's either two choices here. You could let someone else take the wheel, or in other words, cancel yourself out this bitch. Or you can take control and become who you are. Now, you were genetically designed to be something you probably don't know yet, or maybe you do. But is there enough consistency within yourself to keep that pattern natural? I'm just going to let that kind of sink in a little bit. Because what happens here is we go through so much confusion and we're put through so much trauma-based systems that you've yet to completely understand, that we encounter certain circumstances and situations that make life very, very compromising by way of the foods we eat, by way of the people we surround ourselves around, by way of the thought processes we have, by way of the way we form our sentences or our way of thinking. Because unfortunately, if you understand a specific language, before you can create something you see, you're probably going to resort to the language to form what you're trying to visualize. You're going to resort to words that connect you to something, or symbols that connect you to something that gives you a visualization. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we get over things that we've yet to experience but want to experience? How do we get over those things? Well, we already understand a few things are going to set in place. They're going to jump into place because of what's been done to us psychologically and subconsciously. We've been programmed to allow this so-called this fear, which now has a vibration, which makes it real because we've created a word for it, which gives it an existence. So now that it has an existence with a definition, meaning a meaning behind it, we have to understand that there were intentions behind that very essence of the word, or every essence of the energy that was put forth to stop you from being able to grow. We're just using fear as one root or source to show you the portal that connects you to the digression, the de-evolution. You understand? What keeps you in this psychosis state of non-existence that keeps you in a very, 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 very stuck quicksand-like of state of mind. I'm only here to try to help you understand things that I have experienced, because I do not share things that I have not experienced myself. I am one person who likes to challenge himself in very many ways. I don't like to say words like I can't, or I'm not capable, or talk in a digressional way against my person or persona or myself. I won't ever do such a thing. And if I happen to find myself doing such things, I have to question what I've been doing prior to that moment. Like maybe the people I've been around, maybe the foods I've been eating, maybe the lack of TLC that I've been giving myself, as far as not drinking water or whatever the case might be. Because if I am literally forming words or bringing forth energy that is harboring or stopping the growth of my very actions, because it can be as simple as me saying something that goes against what I actually want. I'm counter, it's like, how do you do that? How do you actually create the intent to want or will to stop doing something, but you bring forth words that contradict your very actions? Let's breathe. Let's just take a quick second to breathe real quick, and let's soak in some of the stuff that I just spoke on. Because the thing about teaching, and you have to, whatever you're saying out loud, you have to hear yourself. So you're always reflecting back to yourself, always. So these videos are for me, not only you as well. But how do we get over things that we've yet to experience or understand, or or unknown? How do we move in a world that requires you to be sacrificial to some degree? Very, allow that, they want you to take chances. The world requires you to take chances. How do you continuously move and progress in a world that requires that type of energy from you? Well, you would have to first off put yourself around people that move, talk, walk, and act exactly the way you do, to some degree, some shape or form. Let's think about this. If I wanted to play basketball and I want to be the best basketball player that I could be, if I go and hang around a bunch of mediocre basketball players, or if I go and hang around a bunch of gamers, I'm probably going to lose sight on wanting to be that best basketball player and maybe start itching towards being a gamer. I made a couple other videos talking about horizontal and vertical genes transfers or transferation that would explain some things on a scientific biological level as far as what is happening and as far as the natural cause of what's taking place. But here we're just, speaking in layman's terms on just simpleness, logical way of just logic here. Really. Like if you want to become a billionaire, why would you listen to someone that's poor? Does that make sense? If you're a married man or a married woman, why would you take advice from a single woman or a single man? If you are looking for specific things in your life, it is mandatory that you program that very existence. Because now that we're in such a program-based state of mind, we have to understand that there is a force working against us to program us in a different direction. This is important. So important that if you do not understand that you have to put in as just as much work as the forces that are trying to program you in a different direction is putting in, then you are as lost as you could possibly be. There is no way you're really going to truly keep up with this thing. Think about it this way. If we started a race, and this is the race of life here, okay? And I have a really advanced car, really, really nice car, tuned out, oiled up. I mean, I spent hundreds, thousands of dollars on this car. And you got a little Geo Metro. If anybody know what the Geo Metro is, one of them little small butt cars, not tuned up, bad brakes, bad tires, all types of shit, right? And the objective is to go as far as you could possibly go and never turn back, but to move at the fastest pace you could possibly move. If you had a choice, which we don't in most cases, if we started that race, eventually I'm going to be so far away from the Geo Metro that it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. The Geo Metro won't understand the things that I'm experiencing along my journey and along the path that he's on, possibly. Won't understand because I'm so far gone. So it'd be very difficult for us to try to stay on the same pace or page when you're so far behind. You're so in a different lane, different world, different this. Anyways, so we can be simple and we can be technical and we can be very, very on if that's what we want to do here. And that's what has to be done here in order for us to really get home. We got certain religions that are stopping the flow of us being able to progress. Very much so. Religions to religion. To religion. The government, governmental. Damn. Many things, man. From your water to the food to many, many, many things. And if you're not putting in the kind of work that has to be put in, like, for example, if you're using certain pots and pans, like ceramic pots and pans and shit, you're sitting there, you're cooking, you're scraping your plate, your skillets, and you're thinking you're all fucking goddamn alkaline, and then you get some of that ceramic off in your shit, and now your shit is acidic as can be, and now you're feeding yourself poison. God forbid you wash your damn vegetables with some fluorescent fluoridated fucking water that came out the damn sink with full of bacteria and pesticides and all types of shit, carrying information and viruses that you do not want. Because these things begin to feast on the very meats and things that you put inside your body, the plastics and stuff that you put inside your body. They have a way of being able to remain based off the things that you put inside of your body. They attach like, it's like host. They find host and they attach to those very hosts. And, depending on whether your body can read the information, it might just reject it off somewhere, some part of your body, and leave it there. And then, like I said, that's when the bacteria and the parasites and all that stuff sits there and feasts upon that and eats upon that stuff that you got, that just gets sent off into your body. Before you know it, that's when disease and many other things come about. And yeah, so it, from health to understanding that, herbs are needed, that your health is going to be different from other people's health. So you cannot follow anyone's health. You can't just look at a white person and say, oh, wow, okay, blah, 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 blah. No, that person's health might not apply to you if you're a colored, melanated individual, or black, lack of better terms. African American, for lack of better terms. More. You understand? Or if you were an Indian, and so forth and so forth. All these for lack of better terms. But if you were classified as a different ethnicity or race, your health might be a little different than someone else's. So it might be best that you look deeper into health on a scientific level as far as results for what could be conducive for your body and your cells and your DNA, the growth of your DNA, the structure of you, because the more your DNA evolves, the more you evolve. You unlock more codes and so forth and so forth. So it's so important, man, for us to understand that, success starts from inside out. Consistency starts from inside out. If you're a person walking around with fear, then you're creating dis-ease within yourself. And once you've created dis-ease inside, you'll create nightmares in your reality. Once you have nightmares within your reality, then, yeah, we know you can't escape them when you're asleep. So it's a very scary world to be living in, because then you would become a person that feasts on blood, loves scary movies. You understand? You would embrace the fear. You would allow that fear to sink in, and you would need to do things like bungee jumping and risk your life to feel alive, to experience those sharp pains that you could just feel from hugging someone from a loving space, or getting a kiss from a loved one. You could feel that intensity without having to jump out a plane or have a bull raging at you. See, that's what happens when you start to lose your soul or lose yourself. You end up doing things in the physical that gives you connections to the spiritual, or tries to strike a spark in the spiritual, just to give you a taste of what's natural, what's real, what's balanced. We don't need no one to tell us anything other than the truth, the facts. Don't believe me, check this shit the fuck out. If you are experiencing people, or you're around people that's saying stuff like you can't, when you get excited, you get happy, they turn around and they try to make you feel some kind of way. They try to suck you dry, yo. When someone, like when you're, when you're getting vamped, being around people who just don't like to see you shine. Get them out of your world. Get them out of your space, because they're dealing with some internal things that could really, really cause you to become very sick. Very sick. Very, very sick. And there's no reason for you to put yourself in an environment or put yourself in a situation that is going to cause you holistic health issues in the long run or in the future, near future. We don't need those types of things. We need for us to wake up and become aware to what is actually happening. We need us to be able to start healing thyself and healing others, because if you have healed thyself, then naturally you will heal the people around you. Because what will end up happening is, if you are living right and exact, you will dish out a specific energy. Words will conjugate in such a way that it will force those around you to raise themselves, if not to understanding what you're saying, or if not to grasping the information, or if not to maybe saying, you know what, I'm getting the fuck away from this nigga. I don't like this motherfucker. Whatever it is, it's one or the other. They're either gonna love you or they're gonna hate you. But those who raise will understand, will eventually come into that space of love or space of information or space of facts that has to be understood in order for them to be able to get. Yo.
You have the blend?
Yeah, it's over there. In order for them to get it. So I'm gonna let that be the end of this. You know, let signs be signs. Yeah. I'm gonna just let that be that, because it comes a time when change has to come. And for me, right about now, it's time for me to make a drastic change in my life that I've been holding up on for quite some time, but I know it's a change that must be done, especially in this day and time. We have to follow signs. It's funny how I, just was interrupted, but that interruption was something that needed to be interjected. As far as along the lines of this video, I want to speak really quickly before I finish this video on drugs, marijuana, and 4D technology. Seriously, this is really important. I love marijuana. I must say, excuse me, that I feel the same way Dr. Sebi feels when, he don't want to speak too much on that subject. But as far as what has happened and what is being done with the marijuana at this point, I would highly suggest people reconsider smoking it, just in my opinion. Especially because now it is being synthetically modified in such a way you really don't want it, because it is no longer natural. It is no longer in the state you want it to be. You really don't want that stuff. You are now addicted to something that is not even naturally addicting. There is cocaine, meth, and crack that is being sprinkled on this weed, man, whether you want to know it or not. Little crystals you gonna find on your weed, and many, many other things. This kind of stuff will get a nigga like me censored, but I don't care. It's something you need to know. The moment weed was